Hello everybody, it's Honey Lou. So I am going to do a video response to 78 Piotas. Piotas. Um, anyways, so the hashtag is called Tarot Collection Top Decks. And sorry if I couldn't pronounce that correctly. I was trying to practice before I recorded, but I think I just forgot how to say it again. But anyways, okay, so the prompt number 1 is, what was your very first tarot deck ever? And my very first tarot deck was a Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck that looked like this. This wasn't the exact one because I was like 11 years old. I was a born medium, clairvoyant, all of that goodies, very strongly. And I used to get dreams a lot, like predictive dreams. And I would tell my mom, and then things started to happen, and then eventually she asked if I wanted to get involved, if I wanted to like learn more about it. And so this is the way we kind of figured that I would be able to learn, is use the tarot. So she bought me a tarot deck. I never used it then because I remember when I was so little I had like smaller hands, so this deck felt so big back then. And I ended up just kind of tossing it, but I've always had like a tarot app on my iPhone. And so I would do daily draws then. I would ask questions. I used to actually, I would use iTunes, the shuffle button, and I would use it as an oracle. So I'd be like, what do I need to know today? And then I would shuffle. And then I would go off with the song that was playing. And that's how I kind of did a lot of my tarot, was through music and through like an oracle. And it was always very predictive, which is cool. And I would play it with my friends and stuff. But then when I got really serious into tarot, my mom bought me this one, the Modern Witch Tarot deck. This was like 3 years ago maybe. But I thought this deck was really cool when I saw it, because back when I was younger, all I knew there was just a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But then when I started YouTubing, I found like different tarot decks, people reading. So I kind of learned off of YouTube right then and there. I'm like, oh, I could do that, because I was like, well, they're showing me how to do it, so I could just do it. But I love this cardstock. I ended up ordering a different Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and then I had like this tattoo deck, just because I wanted like the traditional imagery, I guess. This one was, I mean, now when I look at it, it's pretty similar, but back in the day, like, it would kind of like trip me up when I would see women as the kings. It was just really confusing, so I just wanted a very traditional deck. But this was my first one that I got, and the first one I used. I practiced shuffling, and I love to overhand shuffle this deck. This deck has a lot of creases. I was thinking about getting another one just for like nostalgic reasons, but I am one of those people that love this cardstock. And then, okay, so prompt number 2, which is your most recent tarot deck? I got a few that I want to show. So this is the 1996 copy. It's a vintage copy of the Thoth. When I first got it, I was in love with it. So yeah, this is the 1996, like I think you can get the ones now, like the ones you can get at US Games. It still says 1996 on the cards, but that's not right. But this one is a lot bigger. It's pretty proportionate with the borders. The images are a lot larger. I really wanted to get this deck because I wanted a backup, because I had my first Thoth. I wrote all over it and I loved it. And it was a mass market one. And I kind of wanted another one just to have for nostalgia reasons. And for some reason, like, going to Amazon and buying a $30 deck is sometimes a little bit hard for me to do because I'm always just like buying a little bit bigger, more expensive decks right now. So it's kind of hard, I have to kind of pick either or of what I'm going to buy. But anyways, I was searching on eBay one day and I saw this deck on there for $18, and so I just purchased it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll get this deck. And I noticed that it was a vintage copy because the backs look different. So I was like, okay, well, this will be my backup. And I'm really happy that I got this deck because I really love the colors. It's not overly saturated. It's very subtle with colors. The oranges are beautiful. The purples are really beautiful. I love this sun card. I love the cardstock. It's like an off-white kind of border, but it's just very subtle, it's very cozy, and I'm digging it. So I've been loving this deck. It's always so cool to see differences in each edition. Okay, and then the next one was the Llewellyn publication, St. Paul, printed in USA. I have this one right here, the Samuel Weiser. This was my first vintage, like the first edition, one of the first editions. And then I saw this on eBay, and then it was around Mother's Day. It was before Mother's Day, but I was like, oh, okay, I see that one. The cards looked really good, and her price was pretty low, and so I decided, there was like an offer button, so I decided to just send an offer, and I was like, okay, well, if she won't take $150, then I'm not going to get it, but if she will accept 150 bucks, I will. This is my Mother's Day gift. And so she accepted, and I was really happy. But this is my Samuel Weiser. There's some differences to these cards, but this one is in like new condition. Let me just get this thing out of the way. So this one is very white. It's very clean. The cardstock's different. It's thicker. This one's not as clean, but I still love it so much. It's very clean. I love the way these cards smell. I'll show you what the backs look like real quick. So this one has more of like a yellow hue to it. And let me get these out of the way first. But I put these in order because I wanted to show you guys the differences. And that's pretty much like why I like buying older decks, is because I'm always so curious and I want to be able to experience what people's experienced back in the day. So that's like, you know, I pay for that experience. I pay for just to, you know, to get to experience that. But anyways, yeah, the cards are, this one's a lot thinner. This one's a little bit more thicker. There's a lot of cards that go over it. So there's 9 cards thicker. Or, yeah, 9 cards thicker. Or no, 11 cards thicker. So this one has like a slippery, high gloss cardstock. They're kind of the same, but this one's more matte and this one is a gloss. And one thing I like about this deck is that it's more yellow hued. This one is like a cleaned up version, I feel like. This one has the misprints in it, so I heard that the misprint ones are one of the older editions, and then this one was fixed. And I also heard rumors that this one, they like retook in the photos, but after I looked at them, they look exactly the same. So I don't think that they didn't retake the photos to make this edition. But yeah, it's just, I was curious about that, so I wanted to experience what it was like to have both of these editions. This one looks beautiful. I like to lay it out on my altar. This is one of my favorite cards. And this one also has like very inconsistent borders. This one is not as visible. It's a nice copy. But I do love having my older one. It took me a while to get used to this one because I liked how this one was like perfectly imperfect. But this one, after I put it on my altar and I saw how it laid out, it was really beautiful. And so I was happy with having it. And it kind of, you know, filled that curiosity I had of having this deck. But as you can see, this one's a lot more vibrant. This one's a little bit more like not as colorful. This one I noticed the most different, but I like how these are. I love that one. This one came with 2 7 of Cups for some reason. You can see there's no 8. This one's really yellow right there. I'm glad these both look different though. That was what I was hoping for. I love this one, but I do love this one too. This one's upside down. It should look like this. These look like they have hair right there. So that's kind of how I knew that these were the same photos. They just kind of corrected this edition. So I believe this is like, yeah, I would assume this is an older or a newer edition compared to this one. This one's the oldest one I got. And this is the Samuel Weiser, this is the Llewellyn. Okay, another deck that I got in today and I'm obsessed with it is the Cosmic Wisdom Tarot by Ethany. I have to admit, I was not expecting myself to like the deck as much as I do. So it's usually not my aesthetic. And it kind of reminds me of like those color tones of like fall, Cosmic Wisdom Tarot. Here are the backs. Oops. Very nice. I really loved how this box looks. I had to get the cards like in my hands before I was able to like it. But I thought it was going to be one of those decks that I was going to look at and then I was going to like rehome it. But I freaking love this deck and I'm obsessed with it. There's so much layers. There's so much hidden color and it's modern, but it's not like, you know how modern decks kind of look cheesy. But look how beautiful that is. And I like the size, I like the borders. There's something about this deck and it lays out like really, it's like really beautiful. The cardstock's nice, it's kind of like this matte, velvety feel. I love this King of Cups. He's like one of my favorites in this deck. But I'm so happy that I love this deck. And I hope it's like, I just got it in today, so I hope it's not like, ooh, I'm just excited for a new shiny thing, but I have feelings that like I'm gonna like really like it. And I love this Lovers card, so this is the reason why I bought this deck, was because of that Lovers card. I like that depiction of like the Adam and Eve. I love this Fool card. Like the colors, the background. And it kind of shows like people as like really tall. I love the background. It's so beautiful. As like tall and skinny. And so I could see myself in this deck. So I think that's something why I could probably relate to it in some ways. It kind of reminds me of, I forgot what that, I love this guy. I don't remember what that, it's, I love this card too. I like these little hidden spots. I like both of the Lovers card. I like this because it gives it like some extra color with it hidden, but I do like the nakedness. This one reminds me of, it used to be indie deck. And then it became a mass market deck, and I forgot what it was called. Something about, I love this. Look at the horses. Look how detailed the horses are. It's really nice. Just like, there's so much detail. Okay, I gotta think of this deck, because it's gonna drive me nuts. I don't know. I can't think of it because I don't have that deck. But it's a modern like deck. It just got into mass market. I love this card too. I love this card too. It's just really nice. So I'm happy that this is mine. And I'm happy that it's safe. There's nothing I don't dislike about it. I'm not a really big fan of his face, like his face personally, but for the most part, I like everybody's faces in this deck. And I was worried it was going to look a little bit cartoony, but it doesn't. It does, but it's just the right amount of it. Of cartoonish, I guess. Okay, so prompt number 3. Which tarot deck has the best colors? Right now, I'm obsessed with Carol Herzer and my Thoth deck. And I'm obsessed with both of them together. I like just gasp when I look at them together. When they're sitting next to each other, I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful together. Or This Might Hurt Tarot. The Cosmic Wisdom Tarot reminds me of This Might Hurt Tarot. And a little bit of Cozy Witch Tarot. So yeah, pretty much the reason, like, why I just like these colors because it's very muted, it's very sweet, it's very not in your face, it's just very, like, a very kind, peaceful deck to work with. I like the Thoth because it's very colorful. This is kind of the deck that I was looking for. It's large, it's watercolor. There's something about watercolor art I really like, especially in decks. I wish there was like more decks that were made like this nowadays that were watercolor. So I'm hoping for that someday. We'll get that again. But this just has all the, like, some of my, like, all my favorite colors. There's not really a color I don't like in this deck. Hands down, the best colors. And I just, like, appreciate the color palette on here with those oranges and pinks and purples and blues. I'm so obsessed with it that I have to, like, show you every single card. And voila, we're done. Okay, now, what tarot deck has the best faces? I think you guys are going to be, like, really surprised when I show you this deck. And it's the Universal Weight Tarot deck. I really love the faces on this deck. And so look at... I really think this is a very pretty deck. There's so many, like, faces that I like. But this one is one of my favorites. I love him. I love her. I love her. I really like the Empress. So that was, like, one thing I was really surprised about this deck. This is one of my favorite cards. Which is, okay, prompt number 5, which is the largest tarot deck? And it is the Alchemical Visions Tarot. I really like the colors. It looks cool with my mat I got for Mother's Day from my mom. But this deck is really cool. I haven't worked with it that much. I did work with it. I would like do some daily draws and hang it up. But I never really went through the guidebook, so I don't really know too much about this deck, but it's really cool. It's been in my storage for a while. I just pulled it out for this prompt. Okay, which is the smallest deck, prompt number 6. And this is from Kasha at Tarot Map. She sent me this deck, and it's a cute little baby Thoth. So I believe this is a like a scanned copy of the 1986 version with the 2 Magus cards. But it's really tiny, but it's doable. I could actually use it. I like to use it as a clarifier deck because I wouldn't use it as like a study deck because some of the symbolism is chopped off. But I like the coloring. It's just a fun little deck to use. I like the cardstock too. So I was pretty impressed. I'm able to shuffle it, which is cool. But yeah, it looks really cute like that. Okay. Prompt number 7. What tarot deck has the best court cards? The best court cards for me is the Noble. This one has like the best faces as well. But as court cards, I really do love the court cards in this deck. Like that one's nice. I love the I love him too. These are 2 of my favorite. Some of my favorite courts, yeah, for sure. I love her. She's so elegant. Oops. And yeah, I really like the depictions of the Thoth. That's why it's my favorite deck. This is my 1978 Thoth that I wanted to show because I think this one has the best quality of like detailing. There's not hues like in the court cards. I like the way they're moving. There's a lot of movement. There's so much to look at. There's just a lot of intention when it comes to these court cards. But look how beautiful this deck is. If there was like a Thoth deck that I would like to chop up, and I like the story behind it of like this Queen of Wands who is very adaptable. She has her leopard and like it has like this really beautiful story about her. You know, she wasn't like that before, but she kind of grew into being this strong like warrior woman, you know. But look how beautiful, yeah. Anyways, yeah, if there was a Thoth deck that I would like to like chop up and have just this images, it would be this one. Or if I had a backup copy, I love how this head is like that, but if I had a backup copy of this deck, I would definitely chop up the borders. But I'm definitely a border girl when it comes to the Thoth or any kind of general. I preferred having the borders. Okay, now number 8, which is your most worn out tarot deck? Okay, this one is my most worn out tarot deck. This was my first Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I like used for studying. This one's really funny. So it's pretty nasty. I was trying to chop it up and I did a really bad job. It's so uneven. So I just gave up. It's like one of those cheap decks you can get from Amazon, and I was like trying to watercolor on it, and there's like a bunch of creases, and yeah, I've learned how to shuffle with this deck, and I just keep it for that reason. There's like numbers. Oh, I guess I could have picked my other Thoth deck too, the one I wrote all over. I love that deck. I love the way that one turned out. But my first love, the first deck that I loved so much was this Visconti di Monroe deck by, it's Lo Scarabeo, but it's by Mattia Diage, I think. But I can't wait for his other deck to come out. But this one is very worn. I loved it so much. I was still really new. I didn't really know how to shuffle that well. But I loved this deck and I wanted to use it. And this is where I learned tarot. This is the deck. And it didn't have no names, it didn't have no titles, but the fact that I was so drawn to this deck, it helped me to learn. And it's just, this one has some of the best faces too. And this Thoth, I have many Thoths that are very worn, but this deck. This is my misprint deck. So there's a lot of like orange, not orange, green. It's very cool. There's like a bunch of stuff happening. It smells so good. I thought it was so cool when I found this deck. I think the seller's name was Jack. Yeah, but he sold it to me. It was actually one of his cousins. And he was the one that was able to keep all of his tarot decks. And so I showed him my collection, but we got along really well. And he watched some of my YouTube videos, but he was really happy that I was the one that got this deck. And I was really happy too, but yeah, I love this deck so much. And I baby it now. I don't really pull it out anymore just because it's like this. I like the way it looks like this, but yeah, I don't know what to do. I was thinking about putting Mod Podge on it to like seal it, but I think I need to try other, maybe I'll use like one of my backup Thoths that have like missing cards that's broken and try it out on there first. Try some stuff out. Oh, and then this one's pretty worn out too. This Kazan tarot, I'll just show you real quick. So right there. I've seen many people's like worn out, like more worn out than mine. This deck wears out pretty quickly, but I use the hell out of this deck. Okay, now prompt number 8? No. Prompt number 9. Which is your most esoteric deck? And I will have to go with Thoth. This one, there's so many books out for this deck. And there's so many, like, I don't know, there's just a lot of intention that went through this deck. There's like hidden symbolism, there's Hebrew letters. I don't know, it's been like over 2.5 years that I've been working with this deck, and I still haven't quite mastered it down, but I'm pretty close. There's just like little things that I need to learn. Like I don't have the like the Hebrew letters memorized, stuff like that. But this one is definitely has, I don't know, it's just the best deck ever. I love it. It's a work of art, and it's very smart. It's very clever. There's like colors, there's symbols. The background even has something to do, you know. It's just really cool. Okay, now 10. Prompt number 10 is, what tarot deck is the best one for shadow work? This one might surprise you guys, but the Playful Heart Tarot. So I just kind of discovered this deck as a shadow work deck. So I guess some of my trauma was based on my childhood. And so I feel like probably 90% of people who have trauma, it's because of their childhood, right? This deck has so much feelings, so much expressions. I love this card. So there's something very healing about this. There's something about having like, you're able to express your feelings using this deck. They kind of show you how to express your feelings, but this deck definitely like kind of triggers some of those like memories I've had in the past. And so yeah, I think this is my shadow work deck. And I was really surprised because I'm like, you know what? This is a shadow work deck for me. And, I would use the Thoth. Thoth is usually just my go-to deck to use. Another deck that I thought of is the Wild Unknown Tarot, because this deck is it's very airy, but it doesn't tell you shit. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a very truthful deck for me. And it's very, I don't know, there's just something very potent and very magical about this deck. And I like that it's dark. I guess it does bring me back to memories of being a child or just younger, just because of the art style. I like the way the guidebook is written, and I've done a lot of healing work with this deck. I feel like I need a pen because I took a screenshot of all these prompts, and I'm just going down the line. Okay, so prompt number 11, what tarot deck has the best back designs? And my favorite is Ethereal Visions. I think I keep this deck because of the backs. So I don't use this deck very often, but I love these backs. They are the best. They're so beautiful. They're so cream. They are just, I don't know, I love shuffling this deck, and I just love looking at the backs. I think most of the time I'm always kind of that person that likes to look at the front and kind of like look up sometimes and wait for flyers when I'm ready. But sometimes I just like to appreciate the art and just look when I'm doing like my own readings. But this one, it's the backs. It's all about the backs for me. I also really love the Thoth backs. And I also like the Playful Heart backs. Playful Heart backs have the best. It's just so beautiful. Look at that. How can you not, right? Okay, and then now we're on number 12. Prompt number 12. What tarot deck has the best card stock? And I'm going to have to go with my Tarot de Nobile. This is handcrafted. I also feel that the Thoth Greenie has the best card stock, but this one has the best card stock. The texture, it's just a very quiet deck. It smells really good. It smells like soap now because I laminated it. But it just glides. It always glides. It's just a fun deck to work with. And I always feel like I could be like in a meditative state when I work with this deck, because it is so nice and it just feels very luxurious, like how I would expect a handcrafted deck to feel like. And it's very soft and flexible, but very durable. Prompt number 13. What tarot deck has the best soft, silky touch? I have a lot of decks, but the one that came to mind was my Tabula Mundine deck. There's something about this deck is very silky to me. And I don't know, like it just feels so good in the front. The backs are really cool too. But I really enjoy the way this deck feels. I haven't worked with this deck in a long time, but I really love the colors. I definitely want to work on my Emmeline deck collection, because her decks are just beautiful. Okay, prompt number 14. What tarot deck has the best sound when you shuffle it? And that is Wait, I gotta let you hear it first. That's nice, right? I also love the way the Wild Unknown shuffles, but this is my cartogram. This one has the best specs as well. Damn it, I forgot to put it on there. But this one, I love the way it sounds. That's my favorite thing in the whole world is the way this deck sounds. But yeah, this deck is beautiful. This is one of my favorite cards. I don't know, I love it. My Llewellyn Thoth deck, I like the way that deck sounds too. These are some of my favorite cards, these two right here. I love them. They're so pretty. This moon card. And also the Playful Heart Tarot. I was obsessed with that yesterday. I couldn't stop shuffling it. That deck, I will just sit there and shuffle it, and it's amazing. Okay, now prompt number 15. Which of your tarot decks is the most misunderstood? And that would be the Thoth. Yeah, I usually get sad when I hear people talk bad about this deck, or, you know, Aleister Crowley, you know, some people get all, I don't know, they just get upset about it, and there's like this gang that like kind of, you know, they stick to what they believe or what people say about the deck, and they really stick to that. And I like to be a little bit like open-minded about everything. I don't like to judge things until I actually know. So it makes me sad because a lot of people are missing out on a really good deck to study. That's just how I feel. I read a lot of Aleister Crowley books, not just like a dent actually. I haven't read that much. I've read like maybe 4 or 5, but I don't know. This deck is just, it's beautiful. The intention behind this deck is beautiful about the will and let love, you know, love is the law, love under will. And it's just pure poetry. It's very kind, it's very loving, it's very powerful. But yeah, it's just people are just like, I don't like Aleister Crowley, you know, or I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, I have beef with him. And I'm like, how do you have beef with him? You don't even know him. He's been dead. How do you have beef with him? You weren't even alive when he was, you know, alive. And so, I don't know. It just kind of, I'm just like, why do people believe that? I feel like it's very, like, kind of gullible. A lot of people are gullible. But I don't know. It is what it is. Seek to understand always. That's just my how I feel about life is always to understand. If you don't like it, if it bothers you, try to understand it, right? That's how I feel. It's the best teachers if you listen to how you feel, and you know, it's always really cool to face your fears and to kind of go from there. Okay, now prompt number 16. Which is your most ancient deck? And I would have to say the Tarot de Noble is. This one is. So I love this deck. This is a facsimile, so it's not like super ancient. This is like 2023, but these scanned images are with the museum stamp of the original OG Tarot de Noble. And then also my little Thothy decks are very ancient. The Rider-Waite-Smith is very ancient, I feel. The most historical. So this is a very popular deck. This is one of the older printings of it. I love how it's so like inconsistent in the back, so it has like that like kind of that handmade feel, because you know this one has like the same backs. You know, they're all exactly the same. I guess not, right? But these are different. I wonder if I could show you this real quick. I had this deck in order because I wanted to do like a little flip through to show you the difference of, this is the mass market one, this is the OG. It's really cool. And I don't mind this cardstock. This is very good too. It's very papery, but I just don't like the images. It just looks, it's just not as beautiful as this one. This one looks so authentic, and this is what I think, you know, what I pictured a deck to feel like back in the day, or like how I'd want a deck to feel like. This has the best cardstock as well. One of my favorite. This one is very silky. I guess I could have picked this one, but I don't know. I really like this one. I just like all the old deck cardstocks, and yeah, this one's one of my favorites. The Tarot de Noble, the Thoth. Oh yeah, and I wanted to pick another one for that, because this was like one of my favorite collectibles to have, is the Grand Tarot Baleen. This one's not as old. I don't remember when this was, like 1980s or something, but this one also has like the best faces as well. But this is one of my most prized possessions. I love the faces. I think it's so cute. Especially this one. I love this card. I love this card too. Ooh, I think I'm gonna pull this out and start working with it. This deck I plan to use. I just haven't, you know, it's been nice because I actually got rid of a lot of decks. I don't have that much decks. I have maybe 60 decks total, or yeah, it's around there. And it's been really cool because I've been working with a lot of my decks that have been sitting on my shelves waiting for me to work with, and it's just been blowing my mind of discovering the oracles I had laying around and weren't using, but I don't think I was ready for them. But now I feel really ready. Everything like makes more sense when I'm reading the book. I love this. So yeah, this one has the best court cards as well. Best faces, the cute little blushy faces. Look at that, that's beautiful. The line work. Okay, which deck was the most surprising for you? Oops, let me fix this because I gotta take care of this deck. Okay, which deck was the most surprising for me, good or bad? I picked out two good ones. You guys all know that the Voyager Tarot was one of those surprises for me. After I read the the companion book, The Way of a Great Oracle, that was it for me. And then I fell in love with this deck. Before, I used to judge it by its appearance. I would be like, no, this deck is not for me. I don't understand why people like it. It's so cheesy. It's so weird. You can't see what you're seeing. But later on now, it's so clear. It's very calming. It's not overwhelming like it used to be. But the reason why this deck gave me that reaction, it made me really want to work with it. There was something inside me that was like, give it a chance, because I seen other people working with it. And yeah, so I love this deck a lot. Definitely one of those essential decks to have in your collection. And this one is a recent one, and this is the Star Tarot. I forgot the creator's name. But anyways, so this deck, I hate the cardstock. The cardstock sucks. I don't like hard edges. I don't like cardstock that basically I like a deck to wear out nicely. I like it to look good while it wears out. I don't like decks that just crumble when they are getting used. And I don't like having, well, this one's actually doing pretty okay, but it's just a very, it's not a comfortable deck to work with. The images are beautiful. One thing, I was working with the guidebook, and the guidebook is what really surprised me, and I was really happy that I ended up bringing it out to read with. But I like how so I guess how do I explain this? So the author of this deck, she basically kind of writes in a way of she's very in high frequency. So there's low frequency, and there's that kind of where, how these cards usually have that meaning of, so Five of Swords, that is about win at all costs, defeat, or Seven of Swords is kind of deception, sneaky, lying. But it's okay, so when she writes in her guidebook, it feels like she's kind of more mature. And it's kind of she already went past all of those lessons, so she's in a different frequency. So she's talking about a different meaning of the Seven of Swords, and more so of when you're more mature, and it's not about you being sneaky. It's more of kind of having that conflict or something inside. I don't know. It's this. It's really beautifully written. It's very profound, but it just feels like a very healing deck, but I like her perspective. She talks about the symbolism. She goes through all the colors and why she put everything there. It's very well written. It's very thorough. And she has different astrology, planetary symbols, maybe because it's more updated, I guess, from not the old school astrology. It has the newer planets involved in this deck. But there's something just about how I'm wow, it's she's very mature. She's not talking about sneaking, or it's this beautiful way of what's the gift of this energy, of these bad cards? What's the gift of it? Clarity, and the reason, the purpose for having those energies around, and what you could do, and what does it shift, or I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a beautiful deck, and one of those decks that is really awesome to shuffle or to study. It's one of those decks that I would recommend studying, and just it's essential, I feel, and it's a hidden gem. Because of the cardstock, nobody talks about the deck because the cardstock stinks, Okay, which tarot deck has the best purchase story? I picked Oracle. So Road to Nowhere Oracle was one of my top unicorn deck lists to have. It was funny because I was talking to Havana. She's on Instagram, and I was like, hey, do you have the Road to Nowhere Oracle? And she messaged me and she's like, no, but I see it on Marketplace right now. And I was like, what? No, it's not on there. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to look, because it was 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, oh, I should just go to bed. And I wasn't even going to look. But then I was like, oh, I guess I'll just check it out. And it was right there. It was one of my friends. I messaged her and I was like, hey, can I get this? But can I pay you in the morning? But can you please save it to me? Or save it for me, because she said no trades, no holds. But, and then she was like, you know what? How about let's trade? And then she was like, you know what? I don't want a deck. How about I just give it to you? And then, we'll trade later. But anyways, it was so cool because this was one of those number one decks that I wanted to have. Also, I think the backs of these decks this deck is beautiful. But it was cool because I wanted this deck, and it was one of those decks I never felt like I was able to get, but I got it, and so I feel really magical that I was able to get it, and to get it, for free. Um, so that was really special. I felt really blessed right then and there. Also, another deck that I liked. I have so many cool stories about my my decks and my purchases. Like there's so many cool people in the tarot community that just give, and like it's my kind of people because I like to give too. Um, but yeah, where is it? The Kazanler Tarot, Castellar Tarot. That one was really cool because the person that was selling it, there was this guy who passed away, and I got pretty much all of his decks. And I met really cool people after. So it was the eye that business actually kind of went out of business. But I met a lot of cool people, and it was really cool to kind of hear the story about where this deck came from, and especially like a lot of my other decks that like I don't know, I had like 15 decks from the same guy who passed away, and he had a beautiful collection. But it was really cool because I got most of his decks, and then I met a lot of cool people, and they were very giving and very nice, and I made some good friends. Genuine friends, you know? Okay, what tarot deck do you always use for self-reading? I use my Thoth. I use my Carol Herzer. I use my Noble. I like to use my Rider-Waite-Smith. What else? That's pretty much my top 5 right there. And yeah, that's my top 5, pretty much, that top 4. And this one. This Carol Herzer deck that I love. Look how beautiful. So any Carol Herzer deck I usually use for myself. So that's my top 5. Okay, prompt number 20. Which is the most difficult deck to master or to be mastered? And I went with the Hermetic Tarot, the Golden Dot. So this one I say because I haven't really found much reading material to really study this deck as much as I would like to study it, or maybe I'm just not looking correctly. But if you know of any good like reading material about this deck, I would love to know. I would like to find a deck that has basically kind of explains what these Hebrew letters are, their angelic correspondence, but I would like to know a little bit more of like why they were on each card. But I mean, I guess it's pretty similar to the Thoth, but I mean, there's just some extra layers in here that I would like to read just about this deck. But I think it's really beautiful. I was really happy to get to know this deck. And this is like a deck that is not usually my kind of cup of tea, but I thought the artwork was kind of cool. It felt really masculine in a way. But yeah, I love it. This was another deck that really surprised me. And the last question, what tarot deck is the best overall? Should I just show you my top 5 again? Yeah, but the number 1, it would have to be my Thoth for sure. Thoth is my baby. Thoth will always be my baby, and that's all I gotta say about my baby. Just kidding. But right now I'm obsessed with pretty much this combo. I'm loving these two together. I feel like this one has like a really good balance of masculine and feminine together. Like there's both aspects, I feel. So there's like just a lot in here that feels very balanced to me, and it has everything I need. But lately I've been just loving this pair together. They look good together. They complement each other really well. But that's the best overall. But I just love this as this little, it's +1, I guess, you know. They're together. But, you know, this is my favorite Noble of all time. Or not Noble. Yeah, Noble and Marseille. And this is my favorite Carol Herza deck. I really love this Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And this one is just my other +1 Carol Herza deck that I really love. It's just a lot of fun. Totally a different energy with this deck, with this one. They're just so different. And I forgot to talk about what else. This one. I really love this one too. And I feel like I was missing something that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah. So the best cardstock, I wanted to actually talk about this one real quick. So I Am the Artist Tarot by Saki Saki. This has like that black core layer in it, and it's like really durable, and this is a really fun deck to shuffle. But it's like super flexible, and it has like the best cardstock like out now, I guess. Anyways, I hope you guys liked my video response. It's really good to be here again. Expect more videos. I'm probably just gonna keep pulling them out by tonight. A couple more tonight maybe, because I got things to say. Okay, bye.